A lot of people think that we would know everything by now about a man, Donald Trump, a high-profile fellow.
I didn't know the swamp was this dirty and this deep. I didn't know about the swamp creatures being as bad as they are. They're bad.
People say, oh, how are you going to get Mexico to pay? A politician, other than the people on this stage, I don't want to insult, a politician cannot get them to pay. I can.
Join the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves.
Ever seen a guy who loves saying you're fired suddenly realize he can't quit his own job? That's Trump in the White House, folks. Talk about irony with a spray tan. David Letterman's got the scoop on Trump's biggest oopsie daisy moment.
I mean, even with other presidents that I've disagreed with, politically, I felt like, okay, I can live with their representation.
Turns out winning the presidency wasn't exactly what the Donald had in mind. It's like watching a reality show where the host accidentally becomes the contestant. Awkward. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Remember when Trump was just a TV guy yelling, "You're fired" at D-list celebrities? Well, folks, our favorite orange-tinted reality star decided to take his talents to the big leagues. And by big leagues, I mean the White House. Talk about a career change. So picture this, Trump's first day as president. He struts into the Oval Office, probably expecting a big red button labeled "Make America Great Again." Spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. Poor Donnie must have been so confused. Where's the camera crew? Where's the dramatic music? And why can't I fire these pesky senators?
President, and now he's stuck with it for 4 years. And I don't know, I mean, the next day the sun was in the east, and I thought, well,
now, here's where it gets really juicy. According to some brainiacs in fancy suits, you know, the ones who actually understand how government works, Trump's business skills didn't exactly translate to running a country. Shocking, right? It's almost like being a real estate mogul and reality TV host doesn't prepare you for, oh, I don't know, negotiating with world leaders or understanding complex geopolitical issues.
As an American, I don't like this man as a president of our country. I love being an American.
A lot of people think that we would know everything by now about a man, Donald Trump, a high-profile fellow.
As the days went by, our accidental president probably wished he could fire Congress. "You're fired." He'd yell at Nancy Pelosi, but sadly, Donnie boy, that's not how it works. Turns out being president isn't quite the same as being the boss of your own company. Who knew? But wait, there's more. Remember when Trump said he'd drain the swamp? Well, it seems like he just brought his own swamp with him. Instead of draining anything, he just filled the White House with a bunch of yes men and family members. It's like he was trying to recreate The Apprentice White House edition.
Drain the swamp, and that's what we're doing. Now, when I said it, it sounded very easy, and it was going to happen real fast.
Spoiler alert, the ratings weren't great, and let's not forget about those pesky press conferences. Poor Trump, used to controlling the narrative on his TV show, suddenly had to face real journalists asking real questions.
I believe anybody else could have done it. Drain the swamp. We're not finished yet, but we're getting really close. I didn't know the swamp was this dirty and this deep. I didn't know about the swamp creatures being as bad as they are. They're bad.
No editing room to make him look good this time. It's like watching a fish trying to climb a tree. Entertaining, but kind of sad.
And the number one interesting fact about Donald Trump, thanks to Donald Trump, the Republican mascot, is also an ass. There you go.
I'm going to make our country rich again.
Oh, and remember when he said he'd build a wall and make Mexico pay for it? Well, turns out international relations are a bit more complicated than making deals on a reality show. Who would have thought that other countries might not be thrilled about footing the bill for America's construction projects?
And Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Because Mexico, I love the Mexican people. I respect the Mexican leaders.
Remember when Trump said, "I alone can fix it"? Well, folks, that's like saying I alone can eat all the pizza in New York. Sounds great, but it's gonna end with a tummy ache and a lot of disappointed people.
I alone can fix it. I will restore law and order to our country.
Tonight at the RNC, Donald Trump delivering the most important speech of his life.
Depending on who you ask, some saw a leader ready to put America back on track.
Our orange friend made some pretty big promises during his campaign. He was going to restore law and order, make America rich again, and probably cure the common cold while he was at it. Trump positioned himself as some kind of political Superman, ready to swoop in and save the day with his amazing deal-making powers.
People say, oh, how are you going to get Mexico to pay? A politician, other than the people on this stage, I don't want to insult, a politician cannot get them to pay. I can.
But here's the thing about being president. It's not like hosting a reality show. You can't just point at Congress and yell, "You're fired," when they don't do what you want. Trump seemed to think he could tweet laws into existence, like some kind of social media wizard. Spoiler alert, that's not how it works. As it turns out, there's this pesky little thing called the political system, you know, with checks and balances and all that boring stuff they teach you in school. Trump's frustration was palpable as he realized he couldn't just snap his fingers and make things happen. It was like watching a toddler try to open a child-proof bottle. Lots of angry noises, but not much progress. As time went on, Trump's "I alone can fix it" started to sound more like "I alone am confused by it." His grand plans for fixing America were about as successful as trying to fix a leaky faucet with a banana. Sure, you might make a mess, but you're not gonna stop the leak.
Every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans. And this is so important to me.
Critics started to suggest that Trump's mantra reflected more confusion than competence.
I've joined the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves.
It was like watching someone try to assemble IKEA furniture without instructions.
At the next election, let's just stop yakking about what a goonie is.
Lots of leftover pieces, nothing quite fits right, and in the end, you're left with something that vaguely resembles a functional government but might fall apart if you sit on it wrong. Well, folks, it looks like the Trump reality show didn't quite live up to the hype. Who would have thought that running a country was harder than firing D-list celebrities? Turns out nearly 70% of Americans felt like the country was heading for a dumpster fire during his presidency. So much for Make America Great Again, huh?
Percent of Americans say the U.S. is headed in the wrong direction. Trump offered an indictment of the status quo and insisted he's the only man to fix it.
But hey, let's not be too hard on old Donnie. He did teach us all a valuable lesson. Always read the fine print before applying for a job. And if someone tells you they can fix everything alone, maybe suggest they start with a Rubik's Cube first. Or better yet, send them to fix the plumbing in the White House. At least then we'd get some real draining of the swamp. Remember kids, when it comes to politics, keep your BS detectors on high alert and your sense of humor even higher. As Letterman showed us, sometimes a good laugh is the best way to make sense of the circus. Just don't laugh too hard, or you might end up accidentally electing another reality TV star.